going on, everyone? Alright, so I'm going to get back to my build for Jurg's Cup 2. Today I'm going to be shaping the headstock as well as sanding the neck and doing some grain filling. So yeah, here's what we have so far, and let me get some better lighting for you. There we go. Yeah, so last time I did this job on the fretboard, I stained it, and then I put some finish on it. And because I didn't tape it up, uh, yeah, some really bad spill over here. But I wasn't too worried about it because I knew I was going to have to prep sand it anyway. And before I prep sand it, I'm actually going to be shaping the headstock. Um, yeah, and that's why I have the tuning pegs in here in this way, because I needed a reference to see how much wiggle room I had. So yeah, I'm going to be cutting off the little corners here to make it a little more rounded. And I'm also going to be sanding down part of the headstock and putting in a contour. The tuning machines were actually just there for reference. I don't need them now. So let's
Okay, as you can see, I've taken off the tuning machines because I don't need them anymore for this part. I'm using a rotary tool and a cutting wheel attachment to take off those sharp corner ends at the base of the headstock. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that it didn't fit the theme that I was trying to go for, which I was just trying to make the headstock look like a rose. Yeah, and the first one came off no problem. The second one was a little difficult. At some point, I just switched from a cutting wheel to a sanding wheel, and that actually made things so much better. Okay, and now I am putting in that contour on the headstock at the top, just making it look a little more like a rose, giving it a little more dimension. Okay, and now I am moving on to the sanding portion of this. Much like the fretboard, I was using the same grits, starting off at 100, then moving on to 150, 180, 220, 320, and then finally 400 grit sandpaper. And as you can see, I am increasing the speed on this by a lot. This is increased at 1000%. This did take me quite a while, and that's what you want. You want to take your time with this. You don't want to rush things. And I'm just making sure that I'm getting into every little crevice of the contours there. And yeah, it's making a mess on my table, but I do clean it every day because I use this table for everything. And as you can see, I've taped up the base of the neck. The reason I'm doing this is because you don't want any type of clear coat or sanding sealer going to the base of the neck, because that will affect the overall fitting of the guitar neck into the guitar body. When you're gluing that in, you want it to have basically wood on wood. Okay, and now you see me. I am sanding away the excess grain filler. This was a huge mess, and that's why I have newspapers on my table. And it's still left a mess. And after I'm done sanding, I actually use a damp cloth to wipe away the excess. It just does a better job of it. Yeah, and some of the grain filler got onto the fretboard, but I wasn't too worried about that because the fretboard is already clear coated and protected. Yeah, and I'm cleaning out the tuning holes in case anything else got in there. Okay, and next up you see me with the wood dye. This is Crimson Guitars Stunning Stains water based. I once again cannot say enough good things about it. I really like it. As you can see, I'm only doing the neck with green, and yeah, I'm going over some spots here with sanding paper to correct the sanding sealer because the wood dye just wasn't binding to it properly. But yeah, I am just coating the neck in the green stain, and then I move on to crimson for the headstock. Yeah, and as you can see, I'm just using straight up crimson on the headstock. However, for the contour, I do something a little bit different. Yeah, I mix 3 parts or 3 capfuls of the crimson and do a few drops at a time, and then test on a spare piece of wood. In this case, it's a popsicle stick to see if it's at the darkness that I want. And as you can see, I'm satisfied with that color. And I just like how it came out, so I saved it later. And I'm being very careful here because I only want the contours dyed, and I'm just using my remaining black stain as a trace for the outlines of the headstock. And yeah, in between the grain filler and the stains, I give it about a day to fully soak into the wood, and then I will eventually go over it with sanding sealer. And yeah, I am wearing gloves because you do not want this getting on your skin. Trust me. And some of you eagle-eyed viewers might be able to see that I did stain my stain my pants with the green stain. I was so frustrated over that. But yeah, here you see me. Going over the I'm going over the headstock in the shellac. Again, this trick was taught to me by Dan Thompson of Guns and Guitars. Um, he didn't teach me personally. It's just something I got from watching his videos. It it does make the wood grain pop, and it makes it look just really cool, and it's a good sanding sealer. And so I go over it with one coat, leave it alone for about 30 minutes. Then I'll buff over it with some steel wool, and then do a second coat. Repeat the process, do a third coat, and then I will just leave it alone. Yeah, and as you can see, this has also been sped up. I think this is at 500%, maybe 1,000. Um, the reason for that is if I did these all at full length, this would be I don't know, maybe like a 5-hour video or something. And there's nothing special about this shellac. You can get it at Home Depot. It's where I got it. And as you can see, it's also uh, the green looks a little different than it does on the neck than it does on the fretboard. And the reason for that is that the fretboard is actually maple, which is a lighter color of wood, and the neck is mahogany, which has a darker reddish tone to it. Okay, and now as you can see, I'm doing the polyurethane clear coat. Something to the same process, only this time I'm actually using a brush and a and also a foam brush for the back of the neck. Um, I'm doing I'm doing the same thing, a glossy clear coat. I apply one coat, let it dry for about an hour, go over it with steel wool, apply another coat, go over it with steel wool after about an hour. And then I will apply my final coat and leave it alone to cure for about 3 days. And believe it or not, I'm not done even after this. Because the thing you have to realize, well, when you spray on a clear coat, you'll get what's known as orange peel. When you brush on a clear coat, you'll end up getting brush strokes, and it can look kind of uneven. So you are going to have to, once the polyurethane has fully cured, you're going to need to do some more sanding on that. I'm not going to show you in this video. I'm actually going to show what that process looks like when I'm doing the body. Um, and that's just because it's an easier thing to do. And the reason I'm going over this with steel wool in between coats, the reason for that is because you just want something for the next coat to grab onto. And so, yeah, there you have it. That's what it looks like to clear coat the guitar neck. Again, this is for Jurg's Cup, the second iteration. Feel free to do a search on this. It's a really cool thing. And who knows if the Great Guitar Build Off ever happens again, maybe I'll participate in that. All right, enjoy the rest of the video. Take care, everyone.